Shalom, family. Good to see everyone here. I hope you're all doing well. Man, do I have something to tell you about Three Eye Atlas. Now, it's heading towards the sun, and they're saying they can no longer see it with the telescopes that they have. And we already know NASA switched off the telescope. Well, behind the scenes, NASA just enacted the Planetary Defense Tool. And China did the same thing, and I'm hearing the UAE is following exactly what the US and China is doing. Now, the US is sitting up here trying to say, "Oh, we're just trying to observe," and no, you're not. You're afraid. Why would you need defense unless you feel Three Eye Atlas is a threat? And this is what they're doing behind the scenes during the shutdown. And this is more proof that it's not a comet, y'all. You don't sit down and activate some planetary defense tool and it's just a comet. This is more proof. And like I said, and China's doing the same thing. And all at the same time, nobody wants to show you pictures. They got pictures of it. They know what it looks like, but nobody will publish it. China won't publish it. The US won't publish it. The European nations, they got satellites and stuff up there. Nobody will publish what it looks like. Now, if it was just a plain comet, do you think they would be hesitating to show you? They've never done that before in the past. They always showed you comets on the news and on TV, the ones that were in the solar system. Now, all of a sudden, they don't want to show you this object. The whole thing is strange. And I know it's something they have never experienced before, and you can tell by the way they're talking, they're just guessing. They really don't know. And, this is all biblical. Now, when our Heavenly Father returned, we know they're going to fight him. They're going to fight him. And it's not going to be just the US, it's going to be a global fight. And these folks are desperate to stay in power at all costs. And I was even looking at comment sections on these stories, and they were like, "Why don't we just nuke it?" You can't nuke that thing. Look, I showed you about a week ago, I told you there was a video of the US Navy shooting at, what they call a UFO, right? Y'all, the Hellfire missile just bounced off of this object. It just bounced off. And they were like, "What the hell just happened?" You think this object can be nuked? And not to mention yesterday, they said it looked like it had some kind of field around it, like some kind of shield going around it. You ain't gonna be able to nuke that thing. And I mean, come on, the basis of all men are gonna defeat these highly intelligent beings? I don't think so. I don't think so. But they're definitely scared in order to be doing this during the shutdown where nobody knows what's going on. Yeah, it's some serious fear going on. Serious fear. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. See, is that one? Please give me a one if you can see my screen. I want to see what it does to the sun. I think it's going to impact how our sun will be acting over these next several weeks. I really do believe that. Thank you, everybody.
You've probably seen the headlines. Claims that NASA and the International Asteroid Warning Network have activated over a mysterious comet called Atlas. Here's the truth. This isn't a planetary defense alert. It's a global training exercise, a coordinated observation campaign to test how scientists track faint, fast-moving interstellar objects. Atlas, discovered in July 2025, is only the third confirmed visitor from beyond our solar system. Its bright, dusty comet makes it hard to pinpoint precisely, so NASA and the IAWN are using it as a live case study, refining how telescopes, data models, and alert systems work together in real time. The comet's path is perfectly safe, millions of miles from Earth. This exercise isn't about panic, it's about preparation and precision. A science drill, not a warning. Stay informed. This is Cyber News Network.
I would like to share some new information with you about 3i Atlas, information which you should not ignore. Did you know that the United Nations has now gotten involved with regard to 3i Atlas? Yes, the United Nations is now saying that they consider 3i Atlas a potential threat, and they say that they are taking actions to ensure planetary defense. Check it out. Check out the story from the Daily Mail. Here are the headlines. NASA quietly deploys planetary defense tools after interstellar visitor shows odd light behavior. The object has displayed several unusual features that defy the typical behavior of comets, including antitail, a jet of particles that points toward the sun rather than away from it. And according to the release, scientists are going to be running a special training exercise from November 27th, 2025 to January the 27th of 2026. Here's the big part. Telescopes and tracking systems around the world will focus on 3i Atlas to refine methods for pinpointing its exact location in the sky. They do not want to lose sight of 3i Atlas, and they're going to put all of their resources into keeping up with it and then watching it very closely. Now, NASA has dropped some new paperwork as of today. Today is the 22nd. That paperwork came down. They and the United Nations are reminding everyone that they say that if an extraterrestrial intelligence does contact you, it is not illegal. It is not against the rules if you receive that contact. However, you are not allowed to return a response unless the United Nations is involved.
Y'all, in other words, they're letting that's for us, I want you to know. So if the Most High tries to communicate with his children, we're not allowed, listen, we're not allowed to communicate back with it unless the United Nations know all about it. You hear that? So any communication, let's say, the ship comes close to Most High, starts reaching out to his children. They're saying we're not allowed. We're not allowed to communicate with it without the United Nations knowing all about it. I wish the fuck I would. You wait until I tell some United Nations, and my father can talk to me right now. Screw the United Nations. But that's for us. That message is for us, y'all. They don't want his people interacting with him. That is for us. All right, let's go on.
Involved. And one final piece for you guys to consider. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, you've heard of them, right? Well, SETI dropped some paperwork today too. They said this week they are refreshing their guidelines for contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. They haven't done that since about the year 2000. Things are changing. They're changing quickly. I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Please put your ideas, your thoughts in the comments.
Have you seen the headline, NASA quietly activates the Planetary Defense Network for 3i Atlas? Let me explain you what actually happened. The International Asteroid Warning Network, that's the coordination group NASA helps run, announced a 2-month astrometry campaign to practice measuring a comet's position precisely. The target is 3i Atlas. Dates, November 27, 2025 to January 27, 2026. It's a skills drill, not a secret emergency. Why this matters? The bright coma can pull your center away from the true mass center. so telescopes can report slightly wrong positions. The campaign trains observers to measure the photocenter versus nucleus correctly, then combine data worldwide for a cleaner orbit. That's good science and good planetary defense hygiene. What about danger? NASA's current brief is clear. 3I Atlas poses no threat to Earth. Closest approach is approximately 1.8 astronomical units. That's about 270 million kilometers. And perihelion is approximately 1.4 astronomical units around October 30th. This object stays far. Dates beat debates. So the takeaway, not lock every telescope because it's hostile. It's a coordinated training exercise to get better numbers on a tricky, fuzzy target. If you see dramatic posts, check for an official MPC/IAWN notice and NASA's page before sharing. Share your thoughts. What do you think? Do they know something that we don't? Or is just a drill to test defense systems?
So it looks like China's looking to get into the planetary defense business. According to a paper released by China National Space Administration, the country is trying to test a mission to deflect a small asteroid from its current course by the year 2030. Now, the Earth gets struck by things from outer space like 50 times a day so far, and even something that's like a medium-sized asteroid can still cause a lot of damage if it hits it doesn't even have to hit the ground. Apparently, in 2013, a meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia, with a force of a 500 kiloton nuclear bomb, shattering windows and damaging buildings on the ground. In 1908, an asteroid exploded over Tunguska, Siberia, with a force of up to 50 megatons. Essentially, what they're trying to do is just get something prepared so that way, in case we do have something major that comes down the road, they can somehow deflect it and keep it from hitting the planet, or at least preventing damage from it.
This is Dabu7, and we've got an interesting move being made here by NASA and other space agencies around the world, or those places that are in control of these telescopes, as they've literally launched this Minor Planet Center bulletin that says that the IAWN is launching a campaign on November 27th through January 27th. This campaign will target 3I Atlas. And to be clear, this is not a Reddit rumor. This is not a 4chan leak. This is straight from the IAU, connected to the University of Harvard. I've got official links here and everything. You can go read it for yourself. But they say that on behalf of NASA's International Asteroid Warning Network, the same group that coordinates global tracking and planetary defense situations, they say that this is happening for the first time in history, as this object that looks wild as it gets, 3I Atlas, has been formally enrolled into this planetary defense level observation campaign. They're calling it a test of improved astrometry methods. In other words, the object is not behaving like it should, and they admit it. They go on to say that cometary bodies are extended. They have features that can systematically pull their centroid measurements off their central brightness peak, meaning that the light and the mass do not line up in this situation. This is the exact situation astronomers have been talking about for months, about artificial light. Things aren't right with it. Nothing matches up to a normal comet. It doesn't have a tail like one. They're saying at this point, their timeline is they have a workshop on November 10th. They're going to have a kickoff meeting on November 25th. In this whole global observation, as they're putting it, is going to begin on November 27th and run to January 27th. Then they'll have a closeout telecon on February 3rd. But that window right there covers perihelion, and that's Earth's near pass, near Atlas, at its closest, brightest approach. So NASA, ESA, the IAU for months have been quiet. Now, all of a sudden, they've just activated this planetary defense network, and they did it under the cover of over this exercise, pretty much. This is pretty unprecedented, right here. And let's be clear about it. It's not normal. They don't normally organize global campaigns like this for routine comets. We've never seen it before. Not to mention, you've got like more than a half dozen comets floating around out there right now in our inner solar system. Swan, Lemon, all these other ones, man. Pan-STARRS. This thing is stealing the show. And it's pretty obvious. Their quietness now, all of a sudden, all eyes on this object.
Yeah, and what he said is right. They're all preparing all at once, y'all. All at once. They must know it's coming here. They must know it's coming here. All these countries are now activating their planetary defense systems. They know that thing is coming here. You know, you got to watch what they do, not what they say. You know, these folks are always trying to play mind tricks with you. They do one thing and they'll tell you one thing and do something entirely different. But all these countries are all doing it now that 3i Atlas showed up. All of a sudden they're all around the same time, and NASA has this meeting, and this is all during the shutdown where everything is all closed and you don't know what's going on. No, it's not a coincidence. They know that thing is coming here. They know it is. All right, let's go on.
Calling it a training exercise. I don't think so. When every telescope from Mauna Kea to Chile is all synced on one object, that's not a drill. Something's going on with this. I'll leave links. You can read it for yourself. I'm going to cover this in more detail. If you guys got any connections to anything, let me know. We've been dropping videos with wild images of this thing that just get crazier and crazier. So, what it's worth, this is what's going down. Join me on the live shows, going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Tabu77, talking about details to this and a lot more. Hope to see you there. Much love and eyes to the skies.
All right. NASA has officially come out and said that they've deployed defensive measures against 3i Atlas. 3i Atlas is not a comet. It's an alien craft. There's 172 anomalies, and now it's 100% official. Check this out. So basically, they're letting us know that there's an alien mothership approaching Earth right in time for Halloween. So trick or treat, everybody.
Okay, we don't know what's going on right now with 3i Atlas. Apparently, it went from having an anti-tail to a tail, which shows that it's using its thrusters, which would make sense because it's about to get in perihelion with the sun. And if you were a craft, you'd want to slow down at that point and use the gravity to come back against Earth. Additionally, hundreds, if not thousands of amateur astronomers are now saying that 3i Atlas is deploying probes from it, or small orbs, that have now been visible throughout the entire sky. We had 300 generals meet in secret. We're in continuity of government. We have a government shutdown. And to kick it all off, NASA and Space Force just announced that they have deployed defensive counterary measures because they said 3i Atlas is acting erratically.
Could we nudge an asteroid off of a collision course with Earth to save our planet? Well, NASA's Planetary Defense Division, yes, that's a real thing, wanted to know. So they slammed a spacecraft called DART into an asteroid at nearly 14,000 miles per hour to see what would happen, and the results are wild. Not only did the impact successfully nudge it off its path and change its orbit, but they also think they completely changed the shape of the entire asteroid. Upon impact, a bunch of material was ejected, and the rest of the asteroid appears to just collapse in on itself. This happens because the gravity and material cohesion of this asteroid are so low compared to what would happen if something were to slam into Earth, like this big crater. The European Space Agency is sending another spacecraft called Hera to this asteroid to check it out up close later this year, so be sure to stay tuned.
What the fuck is going on here, guys? For the first time ever, NASA has invoked the Planetary Defense System. First time ever, which is basically a call for astronomers worldwide to keep an eye on 3i Atlas, which does seem quite suspicious, to be honest, and it does follow a bizarre series of reports about the object, including claims from a purported ESA whistleblower of an engine-like sound and a warning from a top
Harvard astrophysicist that, that this could change everything. Now, if this was just a training exercise, then, okay, fair enough. But what is really going on here? Because the way that NASA are acting about this, it does seem quite odd. Number one, they went very quiet whilst it passed Mars. They haven't released any of the data or information that they will have gathered as it passed Mars, which is also quite weird. So what is going on here? This is quite a significant thing, really. The planetary defense system has never been invoked by NASA before. So as I said, it's a call for astronomers worldwide to keep an eye on 3I Atlas. But why would they do that? That just seems really weird. Maybe they are thinking this is some sort of interstellar threat, some sort of alien object and not a natural comet. The campaign will focus on a single target, comet 3I Atlas, allowing astronomers to test and refine new methods on the same object. So this is basically what's going on right now. NASA have invoked the Planetary Defense Team, which is basically a call for all astronomers to keep an eye on this because they're not sure what the fuck it's going to do. This is getting weirder and weirder, guys. I think this is an alien mothership. Also, I heard yesterday, apparently, it just vanished when it went round the other side of the sun. I'm not sure if that's true, but that was something I saw last night, which I don't know.
Have you seen the headline, NASA quietly activates the Planetary Defense Network for 3I Atlas? Let me explain you what actually happened. The International Asteroid Warning Network, that's the coordination group NASA helps run, announced a 2-month astrometry campaign to practice measuring a comet's position precisely. The target is 3I Atlas. Dates, November 27th, 2025 to January 27th, 2026. It's a skills drill, not a secret emergency. Why this matters? The bright coma can pull your center away from the true mass center, so telescopes can report slightly wrong positions. The campaign trains observers to measure the photocenter versus nucleus correctly, then combine data worldwide for a cleaner orbit. That's good science and good planetary defense hygiene. What about danger? NASA's current brief is clear. 3I Atlas poses no threat to Earth. Closest approach is approximately 1.8 astronomical units. That's about 270 million kilometers. And perihelion is approximately 1.4 astronomical units around October 30th. This object stays far. Dates beat debates. So the takeaway, not lock every telescope because it's hostile. It's a coordinated training exercise to get better numbers on a tricky, fuzzy target. If you see dramatic posts, check for an official MPC/IAWN notice and NASA's page before sharing. Share your thoughts. What do you think? Do they know something that we don't? Or is just a drill to test defense systems?
NASA quietly deploys planetary defense tools after interstellar visitor shows odd light behavior. NASA has quietly made a major move to defend the planet after the mysterious interstellar object displayed more strange and unexplainable behavior. The supposed comet, dubbed 3I Atlas, has just been added to the list of threats tracked by a United Nations endorsed group focused on planetary defense against near-Earth objects. The IAWN, the International Asteroid Warning Network, works alongside institutions across the world to detect, track, and study near-Earth objects to assess potential impact threats. 3I Atlas is the first interstellar object ever added to the list, triggering a worldwide drill. I'm putting drill in quotes. A worldwide drill aimed at improving detection skills for space rocks and preparing Earth for an incoming potential threat. On Tuesday, officials admitted that the object was causing, quote, unique challenges for predicting its trajectory and decided to add 3I Atlas to the comet astrometry campaign. The object has displayed several unusual features that defy the typical behavior of comets, including an anti-tail, a jet of particles that points toward the sun rather than away from it. How is it overcoming solar winds? How is it overcoming solar winds? According to the release, scientists will be running a special I bet they will. I bet they'll be running a special training exercise from November 27th, 2025 to January 27th, 2026. I bet it's a drill. How many of these things that real events occurred, that there was a drill attached to it? Have you guys been down that rabbit hole? Almost every single freaking one. When it's a real event, there's always a drill being done nearby to cover for whatever the freak is really going on. Telescopes and tracking systems around the world will focus on 3I Atlas to refine methods. Okay, what the freak? Everybody making fun of me about this can suck on my big toe and the second toe because I'm right. There's something strange with this situation.
All right, y'all. Yeah, they're putting up defense, and you don't put defenses up to track something. You put it up to protect yourself. And that's exactly what in their minds, we got to protect the planet from this thing that's coming. And they're going to be defeated. They're not going to defeat our heavenly Father. They're not going to defeat the angels. They're not going to defeat anything. I guess that's what they mean when they say the blood will be up to the horse's bridle. We may be seeing that sooner than you think. So, y'all, this is what I wanted to show you. This was in publications, and now, you're seeing more and more people talking about what was published, especially about this quiet, what they call a quiet meeting, quietly putting in planetary defense. Yeah, because you're afraid of what's coming. Absolutely. Okay. Quantum Solace, thank you so much for the super chat. Lisa, I thought the foolish told us not to look up at the stars. So why are they? The hypocrisy is off the chains, although we already know why. I smell fear. Oh, yeah, they are very scared. I don't know if any of you been checking out the videos online. Oh, no. Edom is terrified of what's coming. I've been watching the videos. How you doing, True Royal? I've been watching the videos, and they're like, Godzilla is coming. Do you see this thing is huge? Godzilla's coming. They don't know what to do. They never experienced anything like this before. None of us have. So they, or even I've even read in some of the comment sections, oh, well, if it comes too close, just nuke it. You can't just nuke that thing. How do you know you won't end up getting nuked? So, man, this thing got them petrified in order for them to have this worldwide meeting, and all these different countries are putting up their planetary defense systems. That right there, that means the entire Earth is spooked by this thing, by 3-1 Atlas, 3I Atlas. And it just goes to show you how deep the fear is. It's worldwide. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I have my next live stream coming up at, what's this, 3:45. And can you believe these immigrants are still over there whining about us being deported? They're still putting videos out in October complaining and talking about we could still get deported. I was like, boy, y'all really don't listen very well. So we'll get into that. And we're going to also talk about the rumors that are getting louder and louder about JD Vance and his wife divorcing. I don't know if any of you have watched the news. Jan Psaki brought it all out. And you're going to watch that a little later on about JD Vance. And according to what they're saying, she wanted to get divorced even before he was offered the vice president position by Donald Trump. And so she's kind of hanging in there, but she don't. And y'all, they're saying she already got somebody else. She's already got another man. And I'm going to show you somebody that have been going very public talking about her. Okay. So this is going to be very, very interesting. So I hope you can all come back and listen to my upcoming live streams that are ahead. So I will see you then. Thank you for being here. Deeply appreciate you, family. Shalom.